got no introduction, adoption of ordinances or public hearings tonight, so we'll move into old business, Corecoyle IFT Abatement.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Drew Homovec, who was here last year, had contacted us today, and he is ill. He couldn't make it tonight. So we would like to ask that council table this item to the next meeting. We have one more meeting that we can do this, make this decision at. So if we could get council to table this to the next council meeting, then Mr. Homovec can be here to answer his questions directly.
Sounds fair. Councilman Morrissey?
I assume our city attorney has looked at this letter that he sent us, talking about the different things that he's done. Could you?
I have not.
Okay.
Well, I've been asked to do
Might
that,
be a good
but I
idea.
can.
Do you think, Dave, for him to review that letter that was sent to us by this gentleman?
Yeah, that will be fine.
Because it seems to be something that is intended to prepare for a possible litigation. So I think we should take a look at it.
Well, he is still in, we're gonna table this. But
Right, I know.
he is still in litigation, and he brought this up last year, that he was in litigation over a roof issue, which apparently is still ongoing.
Yeah, so there's a lot in here beyond that, so.
Correct.
So I think it would be good if the attorney took a look at it between now and the next meeting, if possible.
Yep.
Move to table.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha to table item A in old business Corecoyle IFT Abatement until the next meeting, which would be October the 16th. And seconded by Councilman Shutt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll take a look at that at our next meeting. All right, we're on to item B in old business, extension of traffic control order 2023-29. Chief?
Good evening. By ordinance, a temporary traffic control order is valid for 90 days once I issue it. Any extension on that has to be at the approval of council, which you can extend the temporary, turn it into permanent at your discretion, or dissolve that. This is for the four-way stop at Fayette and Northwest Street, where stop signs with the LED markers were put for northbound and southbound Northwest Street, making that a four-way stop. The reason why we're requesting to continue the temporary until May 1st, the initial concerns were for northbound traffic going up the hill to the stop, especially regarding winter road maintenance, to see if the current plan was going to work, if you were the third or fourth car back on the hill stopped, if there were going to be any issues. So we wanted to get through basically all 4 seasons under this temporary traffic control order, be able to do a full evaluation, to come back and make a recommendation to make it permanent, or if something else needs to be done there. So this is our request for you to approve extending the temporary till May 1st of 2024.
Thank you, Chief. I like the four-way stop. I do. I don't know if everybody else has had experience with it, but I think it's working out well. Any questions for the Chief? Councilman
I
Morrissey?
have a question, but I do think that it also, the other advantage is that you get through the whole school year, and that's another consideration. See what the traffic is throughout the whole school year. That's good.
Very good. Any questions for the Chief? Thank you, Chief. Entertain a motion to extend the traffic control order.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Veer, to extend traffic control order 2023-29. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we will move into item C in old business, Keefer House LLC OPRA resolution amendment request. Sam?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. So back in April 2019, the City Council approved an obsolete property rehabilitation certificate for the Keefer House Hotel project. That certificate is still ongoing. The resolution that was passed at the time required that the facility rehabilitation should be complete by December 30 of 2021. There have been a number of delays on the project, and we have Brant here representing the developer. He can share some more about that, but also the progress that they're continuing to make. What we're looking for tonight from City Council would be to amend the resolution for that certificate to include August 1st of 2024 as a new project completion date. Now, why it's important that we do this is because currently that certificate is valid, but the state tax commission basically reviews and oversees OPRAs, and so at any point, currently they could come back and choose to revoke that certificate without you guys having the ability to have any say in that. So we're simply looking to update the paperwork and to make sure that everything is in compliance there based on a request from the developer. So at this point, if you guys have any questions about the project, I'll invite Brant to come up and he can address that. And if you have any questions about the resolution, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam while he's at the podium? Councilman Beer.
Yes, Sam. The ballots, it ended in of 21.
So
it expired.
no, so the certificate itself is still valid. It's valid for a period of 12 years, the actual
Okay.
tax abatement. That certificate is still valid at the moment, but like I said, because we are past the project deadline that was put in our resolution as a requirement, at this point, it's prudent to try to update that, because if we don't, at any time if the state is reviewing their paperwork, they could come back and say, okay, the project is still ongoing, but that date has passed, and choose to revoke it themselves.
Okay.
Is there some reason to believe that the state would do that, or?
Yeah, I spoke with our city assessor. I mean, there's not a guarantee that they would revoke it, but they do tend to stay on top of this paperwork. And so, every year by October 31st, we go through all these abatements and assessments and try to review those and make sure that everything's up to date so it doesn't happen. And because this is such a big component of the project for the developer as well, you don't necessarily want to take the risk that happens and kind of would have a very negative impact on that getting done, probably.
Thanks, Sam. Any more questions for Sam before we bring Brant up? Thank you, Sam.
Thanks.
Brant, hello. Good to see you tonight.
It's good to be here tonight.
Nick, did you want to join him up there?
I'll just stand right behind you. Yep.
Okay.
Nick up. Just want to say good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Thank you for letting us be here tonight. As mentioned, I'm here tonight to ask the City Council's consideration to update the paperwork, amend the completion date in the OPRA that was granted to the Keefer House Hotel property. The OPRA was granted, as Sam said, back in 2019 for a duration of 12 years. So we're asking for that covenant to be amended for August 1st of 2024. Before I go further, though, I'd like to introduce Nick. Some of you have had the chance to meet him. He is our new VP of Construction and Development, and I'd just like to have him provide an update on Keefer.
Thanks, Brant.
Good evening. So about 2 weeks ago, I made some promises that you're going to start seeing some action, and I believe that you've seen some action out there. We got a lot done down in the basement, got the rest of the excavation done, got the stone in, we're getting concrete's getting formed. As of an hour ago, they were still working. Concrete's going to start flowing on Wednesday, we're going to do the slurry on Friday, so we're making some pretty good progress out there. And you're going to continue to see that.
Thanks, Nick.
Any questions?
Questions for Nick, Councilman Beer.
On that, Nick, as far as, what was because the soil in the basement of the Keefer was contaminated?
It was.
Okay. What was that contaminated from?
I would have to look at the reports.
Okay.
We had a testing agency come out, and it had to be a special disposal.
Okay, and then you also had, there was like a leaking issue or
Lots of
something?
water.
That was that from just groundwater, or was that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So we put in drain tiles around the entire footprint of the building, put sump pumps everywhere, it's just to remove the water from there.
And
So it doesn't happen again.
Right, so it's fixed.
Permanent fix.
Okay.
And to that, just so you can see what I'm holding here, so some of you had the chance to go in a couple weeks ago with Nick to see where we were. These are just a few of the photos of the locations of the basement to show you throughout that time period, the water that we had, the muck that was generated, and the difficulty that was going on through excavation. But what you see here, I took these on Friday, so do you want to explain what they're talking about?
It's, as I said, we finished all the excavation, all getting the spoils out, finished the underground plumbing and the backfill, and then this is the stone pea gravel getting ready for the slurry.
And my understanding is that you help support the outside structure?
Correct.
Councilman
I'll go.
Morrissey.
On the last report that we got, the quarterly report that Grant prepares, it said that the parking lot was going to be done. When will that be done?
That'll be done, probably we'll start on that in the spring.
Spring, so it's not gonna be done anytime this year.
Not this year, because we're gonna be using that back area for concrete trucks, for deliveries, for a laydown area for construction.
Well, as you know, we've had a lot of deadlines, promises,
Correct.
etc. And I hope that now that you're on the job, this thing will be done.
It will be.
Thank you.
Yeah, Nick, I mean, a few of us went in there a couple weeks ago and we talked to Nick and he promised me there'd be activity. And there has been a lot of activity, and I know better than anybody. I'm next door to this building every day, so I do appreciate that, Nick, and I will still take you as a man of your word. But I'm not voting for this. I'm not impressed with a flurry of activity when you know your contract's going to be whatever the contract's going to be violated again. Now that doesn't mean I wish the project to fail or that I think ill of you or Brant. I like Brant a lot. I like Gianna. Everybody from the company that I've met so far, I like. But you know, this is excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse, and I'm not going to lend my hand to that and have to face the residents of Hillsdale and have them ask me why we make exceptions for certain people. But we bring the hammer down on people like Marv Salyer and give them 1 year to improve their properties. So it's an ugly eyesore. I appreciate that you guys have cleaned the back up. It looks really nice. Been waiting for that to happen all summer. But like I said, I'm next to that building every day, and there's months and months that go by when I don't see any activity at all over there. Did you have something to add, Councilman Sharp?
Most definitely. I took a tour of the place. I don't want to see us just give up on it, because if we have them walk away, that building will just collapse. I don't know how you're going to get it done with the deadline you're giving us, because you got a floor in the back room, it has a 6-inch drop in it. I mean, how are you going to do it with 3 or 4 guys? I'm amazed if you're going to be able to pull that off. But I'm not going to vote against it either. When you mentioned Marv Salyer, that personally touches me because of those 2 houses that were down the street from me that were both drug houses. Not a rumor, a fact. So let's not compare Marv Salyer to the Keefer house. That's not fair to him, and it's not fair to them. What happens, I will support you guys, but if the work stops, I'm gonna be out there too screaming, because that building's set lit up all these years and nothing's been going on. You did clean up the back area, it looks better. I understand it's a construction site, and it will be. But we can't just not walk away from it. It's sat empty for many years. It's history of the Hillsdale. I would like to see it get done. And I listened to Mr. Stuccio over there when he said there's $100 million worth of projects going on around this county. And I'd like to keep it that way. So I will support it. Thank you.
Councilman Beard.
I think just considering that Keefer is kind of a cornerstone of Hillsdale, but what council has before us is a decision to make, and if we would not grant the extension, the August 2024 deadline is pretty aggressive, I like that. But if you go back since 2019, we've had COVID, and I've done a lot of remodel, and you just don't know what you're gonna get into. And the fact that there's been some very serious foundational issues with the Keefer that have been addressed. Is it going as fast as we'd like? Of course not. But if this council were to pull their support of the Keefer, we're gonna be looking at that Keefer in its present state, I'm gonna say probably 10 years, at which point it becomes a structural hazard, at which point the city will have to pay somebody to tear it down, and so we'll end up with a parking lot over there. And just looking at the building up by St. Anthony's that the city had to take down, and the costs involved in that. So I think it'd be a real mistake not to support this. And I think they're showing good intent, and because what the city will end up with in August is much better than what we have right now. So from that standpoint, I would definitely support this.
Thank you, Tony. Any more? Councilman Wolfram?
I'd just like to agree with everything Tony said. I think, again, they found, foundational problems, and I'm a youngster here, I guess, because I didn't get here until January of '89, but it was a flop house when I got here, and it has the possibility of being a 34-room boutique hotel, and will attract people for marriages and everything else, and so I'm very much in favor of extending it.
Thank you, Jerry.
I just
Councilman Stuchel?
want to add to this as well, because we got to play the long game, and that's what we're doing here. I mean, the Keefer, if you want to call it an eyesore, yes, it's been an eyesore for 70 years, but it's still a historical building. We have an historical downtown, and what CL Enterprise is going to give us is a building that's going to be standing for another 100 years in our historical downtown. And this is a beautiful thing to have. So you got to play the long game. I mean, what do you want to face litigation and fight for this thing? That's not very. Anyway, it's your vote. But I think you got to play the long game here, like this whole council has done. Our roads and everything else. We're playing the long game to put this city in a better position when we're all out of here. And the Keefer is a big part of that.
Okay, I hear everything you guys are saying. I mean, what happens if the project stops? Do we know that the building's gonna sit vacant? Do we know that there's not another developer or somebody that would
Is there
purchase the
one right
building?
now? It's the only game we have right now is this one. We don't have another game to play.
I mean, you and I have been having this same conversation for 7 years,
It's your
Greg.
vote. It's your vote.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do on Tifa, and I appreciate Tifa too. So, Councilman Sola.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to add to that. So I was on the Tifa board when we bought the building, when Brian had the foresight and fell in love with downtown and mentioned it at an event in Illinois, and they introduced him to CL Enterprises, and how this whole thing just started, 7 years ago. I mean, that's amazing. What I would like council to understand, which I just started to understand, is this OPRA, CL Enterprises is paying taxes on the building at its assessed value that it was assessed at in 2019. So the city's receiving income from this. This tax abatement started in 2019, so every time that we extend it, to Greg's point, seeing the long game, every time we extend it, the 12 years doesn't start over today. The 12 years started in 2019, and will finish in 2031, whether they finish it this year or they finish it in 2027, that tax abatement. And what it'll do for CL Enterprises is help them as they're getting their feet under them to promote the building and get it to be occupied, because that's what we need. We need occupancy in this building, and as many events as the college has, they're gonna need more than that to maintain this structure. They're gonna be bringing dozens of jobs, and it's gonna be a magnificent preservation of the 19th century, right? And we're gonna have that, and our whole downtown is a registered historical district. And to Tony's point, if we ever had to tear that down, I mean, that would be a terrible expense on the city. And so I want to applaud CL Enterprises and say thank you. I know you've had
many setbacks and abatements, and I know you've been hounded because the college has built, you know, a plethora of buildings, and there's been a bunch of other projects, but no, the college has never had to dig down under a 150-year-old building in hard clay and reveal a geyser that had to be abated, right? And so I just want to say thank you for the work you've done. I am a visionary. I believe you're going to do what you say, that you're men of your word, Nathan as well. And I'm definitely in favor of this. Also want to point out that the basement that they excavated and they put the plumbing in, I visited it 2 weeks ago. I just went down there 2 hours ago, and the pea gravel is there. They're getting, there's at least one form in for, they have what, 22 new pillars that they're doing to shore up the foundation. They have to get that shored up, because if you do anything upstairs before the foundation's level, and then it could all crack and get disheveled again, and we don't want that. So I applaud it. The vision for what this building will become is magnificent, and it'll be a place that I think we'll all want to give our business to. So I'm in favor of this.
Councilman Sharp.
The building by St. Anthony's cost us $200,000, I believe. No, a little less?
60.
60?
100.
100, well, okay. That building over there would cost probably about $1 million when you get done tearing it all down. We don't want to do that. We don't want to stick to taxpayers with that. We want to continue. So I think we need to make a vote.
Councilman Palladino.
From a legal or tax assessment perspective, why is this still in place? The original resolution says the City of Hillsdale required that rehabilitation of the facility shall be completed by December 30th, 2021.
Because of the way it works. So the resolution is the mechanism by which the certificate is issued. The certificate is issued by the state. The state can review it and say at some point, hey, and that's what they're trying to head off here, hey, you didn't comply with the requirements of the resolution from the local municipality, so we're going to revoke your certificate because you haven't complied. But the certificate stays in effect unless and until it is revoked by the state. But typically, the way that happens is because somebody didn't comply, and so the local municipality asks the state to revoke the certificate, sends an application that says, we'd like you to revoke the certificate. I don't know how the rest of the state actually goes through and reviews it to see if they're in compliance. So that's why it's still in place. It's in place unless and until the state, for one reason or another, either their own impetus or more likely because they're asked by the municipality, revokes the certificate. So that's why if you amend the resolution and they were then to review it on their own at the state level, they would say, okay, they're still in compliance, we need the certificate in place, basically.
So we do not enforce the requirements of the resolution. Once it's passed, that's in the hands of the state.
The whole certificate, whether or not it gets issued, is basically in the hands of the state. You pass a resolution as part of that process to approve it and recommend that a certificate be issued, correct? So the yes and no to your question, because as I said, typically the way they get revoked is because the municipality asks them to revoke it because the outfit to whom the certificate was given didn't do what they said they were going to do, right? So then the municipality asks that it be revoked, and then the state tax commission looks at that and goes out there.
So we're recommending more than granting this OPRA. Recommending that the state.
Basically, I mean, it's slightly more nuanced than that, but in a nutshell, yeah.
Councilman Sola.
Correct me, didn't we, no, maybe not this council or the one just before this, but didn't council previously extend this till this year?
No, I think that's stuff that's been going on with the TIFA, that, you know, we had a guarantee that it was gonna be done this November of 2023. I think you would look to TIFA for that, for extensions on the contract and stuff like that. This is the only thing we're handling at council. This is Tiff's project. The only thing we're handling here is the OPRA. And as Councilman Palladino suggested, and as the city attorney said, you know, this isn't a vote to revoke their certificate or go to the state to ask them to revoke the certificate. It's a vote to extend their certificate or leave it in place and where it's at. Councilman Palladino.
For further clarification, we're not even voting to amend a contract. We are voting to change the language in a non-binding resolution that we sent to the state as guidance over issuing the OPRA. Very interesting. Okay.
Councilman Beard.
Well, another thing to consider too, because this isn't all grant money, it's private investor money. And if the private investors get scared and say, hey, the city's pulling their support, that dries up and so does the project. So I really think as this council, we need to support this, extend the date of completion to August 1st, 2024, and that's my motion.
One question, Tony. What happens if you guys aren't done August 1st, 2024? You guys are at the podium right now, in public. Tell me, do we do this all over again? What's the...
That's not an option. It's not an option. I have to be done by then.
Failure's not an option.
And as I promised you 2 weeks ago, you're gonna see action, you're gonna continue to see action, and it's my task and responsibility to make this thing happen. So there isn't that what if plan B. Plan A is the plan.
I just appreciate you getting the back cleaned up, the weeds trimmed. That means a lot to me, it really does.
I made a promise.
Yes, you did, and you kept it.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I certainly commend the mayor for firing a shot across the bow here. You know, we've been waiting a long time for this. We have had a number of deadlines that never quite got fulfilled. I'll vote for it. I don't really want, you know, but I commend the mayor for not voting for it too, just to send a message.
And if we're up here at August 1st next year, guys, and it's done, you guys can all look at me and say, I told you so.
Yeah, I will.
But if we're not, I'm gonna look to you guys to maybe pound your fist a little bit, a little tiny bit.
I agree with the mayor.
Councilman Beard, you made a motion, correct?
Yeah, I move to extend the deadline, but also as part of that, just being devil's advocate, if it's not complete August 1st, 2024, there's gonna be a lot more work done on that place. We're gonna have, the Keefer Scouts gonna at least have a foundation to which maybe you can entertain some other options. But it's, yeah, I think we really need to go forward with it.
Councilman Palladino?
I would like to hear from Andrew whether there's actually any legal recourse to this thing. It seems like extending this deadline is sort of silly. They got 12 years for the OPRA. That's in the state's hands. Unless we want to, you know, request that the state revoke it, probably nothing is going to change. So all the real power is in the hands of Tifa. And if Tifa doesn't have any actual recourse to call in this promissory note, then bringing this up to council and making a debate out of it every year doesn't seem to make much sense.
2 years after the fact, I've thought of that as well. My guess is there's more that we're not hearing here tonight.
Well,
Because there's not just no reason for us to be doing this except for that the state can revoke the certificate. They could have revoked it 2 years ago, it looks like, so. Or maybe we're just being silly. Councilman Soha.
Well, to add to that, I mean, if we do pass this, which I hope we do, it shows that the city is still supporting and behind the development, still supporting and behind Tifa's engagement in this process, and that council has said, yes, this is something that we believe in and that we want to see come to fruition. So even if it has no teeth, like you suggested, at least it's a public portrayal that council's behind the project and believes it will get completed.
Well, it
Councilman.
has some teeth in that what if we pass this, then it means that the state won't recall it back. So there's some probability, even if it's 10% probability, it still puts a damper on activity downtown. And I think that Tony's exactly correct that we need to go ahead and say, hey, and as he pointed out, it's a National Historic District downtown. You've got a building that was sitting there vacant for years, falling down. They find out that, hey, the thing probably would have fallen apart if they hadn't gotten in there and got the foundation fixed up. So I think it's very important that we go ahead and extend this.
All right, we got a motion on the floor from, did you have something, Greg?
I was just gonna add that if CL Enterprise would have known what they were getting into, chances are they wouldn't have purchased it. So we really have a blessing here for them coming in, finding it, and hanging with it and finishing this project. Or we would have had a parking lot. So I commend them for staying strong and being with it. Like Tony said, any renovation is, you know what you're gonna walk into.
Just so I can clarify too, with respect to what Councilman Palladino was asking about. So, the type of action that you're taking now, in effect, would be establishing that they are not, in effect, outside the scope of the time that they were originally given to get it done. Because that is a basis upon which the council could vote to revoke the certificate. And if you voted to revoke the certificate because they weren't in compliance, that's the ground upon which you can revoke it, right? You'd have to show that basically they haven't done it either within the time frame that's been authorized, or they've not proceeded in good faith with the operation of the facility in a manner consistent with the OPRA Act. Or unless there were other circumstances, all that kind of garbage. But in effect, that is the affirmative vote that you would be in a position to take if you didn't extend this, right? So in effect, the extension is saying we are giving you more time before you're in a position where you're functionally in default, and we could then say we're going to ask that this be revoked, right? And there is, you could still, even if they had time to run, you could still revoke it if you didn't think they were continuing in good faith, right? So if it's set between now and approaching that deadline and nothing happened, that might be grounds upon which you could ask that it be revoked, even if you passed the resolution this evening.
Does anybody else have anything to add? We've got a motion on the floor, a second by Councilman Soha. Motion to extend the OPRA certificate, hold on fellas and ladies. Motion to adopt the following resolution, amending the completion date of resolution 3372 to August 1st, 2024. On the floor from Councilman Veer, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Pratt? No. Sharp?
Yes.
Soha?
Yes.
Stuchel?
Yes.
Veer?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Stockford?
No.
Councilperson Morrissey?
Yes.
And Palladino?
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no, that's approved.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
All right, we will move on. We are done with old business. We'll move into new business. Item A, Airport MDOT Terminal Construction Contract.